Thank you. I'd like to call the Finance Committee meeting to order on Tuesday, September 10th, 2024 at 5:01 PM. Roll call. Berto here.
Bell here.
Olson here.
Is there a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Housen, second by Bell. All in favor?
Aye.
Is there a motion to approve the minutes from August 6th, 2024?
I had a correction. Hold on a minute. Let me just go to that. One sec. Here it is. Okay. Let's see. If you go to page 2, is it? No, it's 3. Sorry about that. I think on the doc. And you go to line. This is about Ava Hope. Hold on, I gotta find it. Page 3, line 43. I think it goes back to our discussion yesterday at the Parks meeting. Anyway, it says the 30,000 received in community development fees to be used for grading and seeding of Ava Hope property owned by the village. Does that need to be changed at all, that bullet? Since we decided to, let me see, what are the following changes for the Bath budget as the community improvement planning? Because didn't we decide to hold those?
I'm pretty sure this committee just mentioned that item. That's why it's there. If you
So
talk
it's
about
not
it at a
anything that needs
different
to be changed.
committee.
Okay, all right, that's what
yeah.
my question was from. Okay. Okay.
So is there a motion to approve as presented?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by
Second.
Bell, second by
Second.
Housen. All in favor, respond with an aye.
Aye.
Carried. Comments, correspondence, and concerns from the public. We have no one joining us, huh? Interesting. Okay, discussion items, cost of living adjustment, COLA.
I think Denise, you had asked for the staff report to review what we discussed at personnel.
Okay, is there?
I think you had questions about that. I thought maybe you might have questions about it.
I don't. Just wanted to see what you guys had talked about.
Well, so the document that Julie put in the packet is basically what the discussion was. Since then, I just did a little digging and came up with a little bit more information, and that is, and again, this is subject to change, but based on the current CPI, it looks like Social Security will probably pay this year about 2.57, something like that percent. And as you can see here, Social Security paid 3.2 in 2024. But again, it's going to depend. This is through June, so it really is going to depend on what the second half looks like. It could be lower. It could be right now it's between 2.57 and 2.9. It just depends because it went down. CPI went down in June.
But personnel is sticking with the 2.75.
2.57, yeah.
No, 2.75.
I mean, sorry, 2.75. Correct. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. I have no other questions. So then we go into, I'm not going to keep scrolling back and forth. So if I get off of the agenda or need to move on, please somebody let me know. Budget discussion is next. Is that correct?
I think so.
Yes.
I had a question about the budget summary. I'm on page 9. And this is Vlad, you had sent this, and this is there's a schedule here and a discussion about the mill rate and so forth and the assessed value. So here's my question. First of all, it's net new construction. So our net new construction in 2024 was 20,502,300. and it was an increase of 2.5%. So I went on the Wisconsin Department of Revenue's webs, and I went and looked up what 24 was and what 23 was. 100% 24, according to them, as of 8/12 was 20,502,300, which was a 2.5% increase. Then I went back and looked at 2023. They have it as 21,250,000, which would mean that we are down for 2024. The reason I did that was because I looked at the graph that you did, and the graph you did shows a decrease from 23 to 24 for net new construction. So I had a question about that.
Well, Louise, that's just what you said, though. You said 23 was higher than 24, and that's what the graph does show.
Right, but this says that net new construction for 24 was an increase of 2.5%.
Oh, it should be a decrease,
It's a decrease.
No, but just a second, I will explain.
right?
I'm trying to open that report.
Well, what you got from what I'm saying though is the state gave you the wrong info, according, what a shock. But when you go on the Wisconsin Department of Revenue's website, or when you go to the net new construction information for 24, absolutely, it says 20,502,300. Absolutely, right? And it says that was a 2.51% increase, just like what you have written there.
Yeah.
Right? Then you pull up 2023, and 2023 shows in dollars 21,250,000. Your graph shows that, which means that we have a decrease.
You're right.
Right, so he's taking the information from DOR that says it was an increase, but in reality, it was a decrease.
I think so.
Yeah, I think so.
Looks like
too.
it. I just wanted to call that out because it was confusing, because the state, as usual, it's like, really? Their numbers weren't, and where else do you get it? I'm assuming it's the only place you can get it, right?
Yeah,
But-
it's coming off DOR's website.
Yeah, so, and that
So,
goes
Ed-
into our calculation, right?
Well, it's whether it's up or down, that's
Doesn't,
not
okay.
affecting our calculations because we're
Gotcha.
using the actual dollar
Where the
numbers.
dollars are, okay.
Yeah, but
Okay.
Vlad, maybe you could just make a note that that gets corrected for the final budget summary. So that'd be on page 2, and I can show you where it is if you have a question tomorrow.
That's page 2 of the
Page
PDF.
2, very top, very first line, it says it's a percentage increase of
Mhm.
2.51.
I found, yeah.
Yeah, it should be decrease, so.
Then we probably will need to recalculate. Maybe it's not even 2.51. So I'm gonna look into that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a decrease of some, it's like minimal, but it's down. Okay,
Thank you.
sure. And thank you for doing this, because this is new for me, and doing the calculation is, new or not, difficult for me to understand. So thank you.
So after last year, something that I wish I would have asked at this point and looked at is what this actually means to a tax bill. And I think it's a lot more straightforward this year if I understand the assessment and how the reassessment really changed things on the mill rate there. Looking at a couple tax bills that pulled off of the GIS. Obviously this sets the rate that is for the Village of Sister Bay. Question I have, and I suspect this comes from the assessor and not from here, but where does the average assessed ratio, when does that get set, and when do we know that?
That usually comes from Department of Revenue, from my understanding, that every year they will give us that, and then that calculation is done on the tax bill. And then once you go below the 80%, then you have to have a reval.
Okay,
That's my understanding. And if you don't have a reval, if you don't drop below the 80% in 4 years, I think every 4 years you still have to have a reval, I believe.
Do we know when that number, is that something we get after budget time or? Cause I mean, I would think that that matters to our tax levy.
I don't know when we get that number.
I
Okay.
don't know when we would get that number either, Nate.
Okay.
So here's my question, Denise, you can relate to this because Denise is very smart about stuff like this. So as a trustee new to this, you recognized last year that we were gonna have a larger increase in property taxes than anybody else recognized. So are we doing that now? Are we going through that process now to understand? Do we have all the information that we need to understand and be confident that we're pretty darn close to what Vlad has put in this document, which states that basically property taxes will be flat?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So it's just different than we didn't have as much information last year or at the same time or something. I don't know, but something happened.
Well, this is,
No, we had all the same information.
yeah, I mean, this is the template we use every single year for this,
Yeah.
Louise. It's just the numbers change. I will say this year Vlad made it a little easier to understand, but last year it's the same information. It's just this is worded slightly different to make it a little easier for the layman to understand.
Okay.
He deleted one chart, which was just very confusing to the reader.
Okay.
But no, it's the same.
Okay.
And I should quantify your statement though, Louise. There were many high-end or high-value properties whose taxes did go down. Unfortunately, it was single-family homes. The average person just living in the community whose taxes went up the most. But a lot of, and I think when I used examples last year, country houses went down over 10,000.
Yeah. Well, so did Al's. Al Johnson's went down.
Yes.
But those are commercial. That's what I noticed. Not so much residential. It was commercial.
Right. Commercial went down. High value commercial went down.
Huh.
Not all commercial.
That's why it's so confusing for me because I was like, well, how the hell did that happen? But okay. So
because how that happened is because they had such a high value on their properties, and during the reassessment, their growth was not the same in commercial as it was residential. That's why it went down. So if you had a property worth $20 million, maybe the new reassessment only went up to 21 million. Where some homeowners saw
like the ones on the water. Yeah.
double increases or half again or whatever.
Yeah.
Louise, the assessor had told us as also though last year, like when you're looking in residential areas, some people were paying so much more than the homes were worth that they had to go into those communities, and that pushed everybody else's value up. So you saw home prices really escalate because
for sure
everybody had to be reassessed.
Yeah, I understand that. Yeah. Okay. All right. I just wanted to have some sort of just make sure that what happened last year, like I won't call it a surprise, but that we're more confident. That's all. Okay.
That's a very pointed question to Vlad here is, as I'm looking at a couple different property taxes bills from the village last year, we obviously are only setting the village of Sister Bay's property taxes, the mill rate for the village of Sister Bay. So we can't do anything about all in all, but this is going to have very close to a 0% change. I mean, like the assessed value still could impact that somewhat if I'm understanding this, but it's going to be pretty negligible. It's going to be pretty close to 0% based on what
it should. The way Adam and I actually, Adam was guiding me with everything. I'm still like watching and doing after. It should stay the same. And Julie, she made it clear that the board ones and village ones, no increase in taxes.
Okay,
And we will triple check everything. before
okay,
we're Gonna finalize.
okay,
You know, you learn from your mistakes, so I'm just trying to make sure I don't ever repeat that one.
sure.
Yeah, it's, we went through this, it's not, it doesn't go up, doesn't go down, but we tried to maintain it. We told people last year we would try our best not to increase it, and then we, of course, as a committee, had the budget directive. And we don't know what the county is gonna do in some other taxing jurisdictions, but from the village, that we're not going to increase taxes this year.
Yeah.
Or that's not that it should not increase.
Yeah.
Now, if you had something happen and you had a reassessment during the year, maybe you had a big addition or something that changes it. But we held it at the same tax rate to not increase them.
Okay.
Okay.
And Gibraltar, I think that they're, last year it went up because of the, I think, isn't that what happened, right? Last year it went up because of the new construction that went through, right?
The referendum.
Yeah, the referendum passed. I think that was in 24, I think. Okay, all right. And then Vlad, can I ask you just one more question?
Yeah.
Because this is kind of the same for all the next documents that are coming up. I'm on page 11.
Of the budget, Louise, or
I'm looking at wage and salary cost estimate. I want to make sure I'm looking at it and I understand it.
Mhm.
So this is just one, it's just one of them. Anyway, I just picked page 11. So we see a budgeted wages of 80,000. Then we see budgeted hours, and then we see the base wage rate. I understand that. And then the COLA adjustment at 2.75.
Mhm.
So I understand that's 2,200, right? And then the 2025 step pay. Can you tell me how, I don't know, I'm not sure what that calculation is. That's the 82,400
Yeah, step pay, it depends on the employee.
on the person. Yep, yep.
Yeah, we adapted for each category, for each department,
Okay,
the step pay.
right.
Let's just bring the documents for the step pay, just a second.
That comes out on page 11 to $1.15 per hour raise. And the
Okay.
COLA was $1.06 an hour raise.
Okay, where are you seeing that on page 11? Or did you?
I
do
did-
you have
I
to
did the
calculate it,
math.
right? Okay, you got to
I-
calculate it. Okay, I got
I
you.
did the math.
All right. I just didn't do the hourly part of it. Okay. All right. Now I understand it. Okay. I understand it.
And at what step is it $1.15 per hour raise? What,
So
We'll
I
probably-
believe what you're seeing here is the, isn't it it's the average. I think that's the average for that department, isn't it?
No, I didn't get, it's part,
I think it might be. Actually, Vlad, I think it might be.
It is, it's looking at that whole department.
It's for the whole department.
From Eric to the little guy, it averages out that's the increase for the department as a whole.
no,
no.
not on page 11. It is for one particular person.
It's for one particular person. I think it's going into the step 2.
Oh,
And
okay.
from step 1 into step 2, there is increase of dollar and a change.
Isn't every step except for what, year 5 and 10, 3%?
Yeah,
3%.
Okay. Well, 3% of 80,000. Yep. 2,400.
Oh, I see what we're doing here.
Gotcha. Okay, those are all my questions for that part of it.
Okay. I have a question on page 14, and maybe there's nothing that we can do about this. But we have overtime hours at 145. How do we reduce that?
Actually, this is much less than what we're seeing already. So for this position, this was a salaried position, and last year, the Personnel Committee made it an hourly position after the budget was approved. So there was no overtime set aside to pay that employee. With Tasha leaving this year, this position had a lot of overtime. And we made it very clear that's not what's going to happen. So what Vlad and I did, and actually I went through and calculated it, I said, let's assume this meeting goes this many hours a week. This number here is just meetings. This doesn't include staying late to finish minutes. It doesn't include overtime to put together a packet. This is just saying, this is what the overtime for meetings alone, just the meeting time, should cost. And it doesn't include anything else. How can you change that? Shorter meetings, more daytime meetings, do it during the day so there's not overtime. But the overtime in that department is just for 25, is just meetings.
Okay.
Lord, what are you saying? A meeting is 2 hours, 3 hours? I just kind of want to figure out how many meetings this is.
Well, let me go back. If you
Can-
want to
can
hold
we
on, I
get
can go back
rid
to all
of-
our files.
Can
What?
we get rid of all the fluff in the minutes?
So I have talked with staff about that. One of the issues we have is when she cuts them down, then people go back and say, well, we want this added. And I've seen that myself. So she's kind of leery to cut it out, but I've worked with her. She come down a little bit. We talked about that with the eval too. We need to cut them down further. So yeah, it's a work in progress.
Okay,
She's
so you're
trying.
addressing it?
Yeah, definitely. We have been. It's hard. I think, I think she's been questioned, why isn't this in the minutes? So when she takes it out, then people want it in, so she's getting conflicting messages. So she errs on the side of caution of almost making a transcript, but we've talked about it several times. It was part of what we talked about last, was it Thursday again? So she's working on it.
Okay. Okay, so Vlad is a new employee. And I mean, no offense here, Vlad. We're happy you're here. And there is step pay for him, but that step pay doesn't begin until the year is in. Is that correct?
That's correct. yeah.
No, that begins in July. So after he's been here a year.
Right. Okay.
But, so Vlad, correct me if I'm wrong. Adam said though, when you do it, because I'm like, well, let's figure out exactly what it is. So if it's July 8th of 25, then we should calculate that out. And my understanding, Vlad, was Adam said, no, you calculated it as if the whole year, correct? Because that's how Cassell works. It
Yes,
doesn't make
yeah,
projections on half a year or 3/4 a year. Take
Okay.
that salary. So these can be a little high because you're projecting it for a whole year at that salary. Even
Sure.
though that's not the salary for the first 7 months, right?
Okay.
Is that right, Vlad?
correct. Yeah. So it's pretty much like minus 1,000 or something. And that's going to be the bottom line.
All right. Thank you.
And there's actually another couple employees, same thing. So budgeted based on calculations, but the actual going to be different.
Okay. Yeah, on their anniversary date. Okay. All right. Any other questions on that segment?
Nope.
No, not for that section.
So then we have on page 25, year-end projections.
Yeah, I'm the one that requested this, and thank you, Vlad. I appreciate it, Vlad and Julie, for doing this. And I looked at it, I understand how you did it. I think I agree with the way the calculation was made. What I didn't realize was that we did have to pay out PTO to 2 employees that left, and that would have been, and that kicked it up.
Yeah, it was actually Louise. So when Eric and Megan went from hourly to exempt, they had all that comp time that they had that had to be paid out because they don't get that as an exempt employee. And then also when Tasha and Dan left, you had to pay them all that back pay. Tens of thousands of dollars is what it, between everybody, it came out.
Looks like 108,000, is that right?
Um,
In
no,
unworked wages? Yeah.
because I think it was what, 40,000 by April, I think is where we were at. I think we had, I have to look at back. So we budgeted 42,000 for the whole year.
Yeah, and you were there in April. Mhm.
Yep, and we had went through that just by April, so, yeah, by the end of August, yeah, we paid out 108,000, so Bob laying other retirements. We had a bad year for employees leaving and paying that out.
And there's no way we can really, I know you can't foresee that and you don't want it to happen anyway, but I mean, aside from Bob Lang, maybe we may have known was gonna retire or something. I don't know how you budget for that.
Well, you know what you can do, and people are probably gonna kill me for this, but you can cap it, you can require vacation, you can, there's certain employees, like if you're hired before a rule goes into effect, you can't really do anything about it. But it could be that, any employee hired after a certain date, vacation doesn't carry over. Employees don't like that because let's face it, there's not time to take vacation.
It's hard.
Really not.
Yeah.
But I've seen in time, you also get employees who just, they keep banking and banking and banking because they want this big payout, and it really hurts the government body.
I
Because
thought that
how do you budget for that? Let's say somebody has 10 years of vacation sitting there. How do you budget for that? You don't know they're going to leave during the middle of the year, and it breaks your budget. So what you do is you implement a policy that puts a cap on that. So
I think what
never
you're
take them
saying,
by
we've got some
surprise.
longtime employees who will leave, I assume, in the next 10 years or whenever the heck it is, and we'll be facing that. So that would be anybody we hire that's new.
From my understanding, there were caps on certain things.
I recall that too,
Certain
Denise, that it was started probably 5 years ago or something along those lines.
Yeah, there's certain caps, but if the employee, well, let me pull up the personnel manual if you want to talk about that, but so there
Because
are
I
certain
talked to
caps. and there's certain
Tasha
exemptions.
about that, specifically, that, and I can't remember if everything was capped or a couple things were capped, but it really, my conversation with her before she left was that the village really makes employees work until they're 65 because they cannot bank enough hours to cover them between 62 and 65 to until they can be on Medicare. And I thought that that was a horrible policy.
Who said that? Tasha?
Tasha did. Tasha and I had that conversation.
Yeah, I guess I'd have to look at that a little closer, I'd have to look at how that's written, but I would just say this, I think this is something that should be relayed over to personnel. They're going to be working on the handbook. They're actually going to start that conversation tomorrow.
Tomorrow, yeah.
This is one thing that that I recommend they look at is, how do you control that? Because it can really break your budget.
Then we have to start budgeting a certain percentage of our payroll for that. Because I know, as a matter of fact, the state just lets you bank it all until you choose to retire.
Right.
Yeah, and that's yeah. So I'm just thinking about our employees. We really only have two, you only have two that could really be significant at this point in time.
So, all right, let's have personnel do the
But we
deep dive
we
into
still
it.
need to discuss it. And
Okay,
like I
yeah.
said, maybe it's not a reserve that's in the budget. Maybe you let them accumulate it because, like I said, the reality is they can't take vacation sometimes. But we'll talk about it at personnel.
Okay. No, that's a good discussion. All right. All right, well, thank you for doing that. Appreciate it. That was my only question about that.
Okay. Page 27, staff report CIP.
So I just have 3 comments on the CIP, but I'll talk about those after you guys discuss it.
Questions?
I don't have any real, well, I don't have any really questions about it. Do you, Nate?
No, I mean, I understand there was a conversation yesterday at Parks about the admin building.
Right, and it stays in 25. Um.
I-
that was-
I don't quite understand that because I don't see it getting done in 25, but if that's what Parks decided, that's how the committee process works, so.
Right. One question I had was the village hall, because we've got 4.2 million in there in 2025. And we don't think that's gonna happen, do we?
We don't know. So what happened is we applied for, so you have to look at the funding source on there, Louise. So
Yeah, I saw it. It's a grant. Yep.
yep, and that grant is very specific that it has to be done in 25.
Mm,
So it's kind of it's a what I call a political grant. It's for political reasons. So they give it the money real quick. And then they demand it be used within a very short time period.
okay,
We don't know if we'll even get it, but we have to put it in there just in case, right?
okay.
But yeah, that says it would have to be done in 25 if we get it. So
And then we've applied, right?
we did apply.
Okay,
Yep, we applied a couple months ago, so we're waiting on that one.
okay.
So I just have some comments on the CIP real quick, okay? I'm trying to find the page. So it's 45 in the CIP, which is dang it. Which is page 72. Okay, the ice rink. So I just have a question on this. So we put 500,000 in to help with the basically the seed money for the fundraising. And we had the 1,790,000 in. And when you look at the breakdown on that, it's for coils and boards and stuff. And last night, Miles said they did not need that. That is what they were fundraising for. So my question is, do you want to take that out? Or you want to leave that in and change it to, we had talked about a community building associated with that rink. Do we want to do it that or just take it out?
How about we have that conversation next year when we're talking about 2026?
Okay, so leave it in the CIP for now.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I mean, I would be inclined to move it over to a community center, but I don't, waiting till next year to talk about it's fine.
I know Miles said yesterday he was hoping to build that ice rink in 25. My only concern with taking this out is what if something falls through on that project? Then at least the money is sitting there. So, okay, so that's one thing so we'll leave that alone. And then let me just go back. I'm going back to the post office, which is page 56 in your packet.
Okay.
So, just to let you know, so that I've had more conversations with the post office today. It looks like that would still be on track for 2026. I know there was some conversation about that before. Where's that at? Okay.
So they would, meaning that, I know things change, but they're open to a conversation about moving it?
They like the idea of going to they like the idea of going to where the Parks Maintenance Facility building is located.
Okay,
They like option A that we presented to them. I have to send them a letter by the end of the day regarding some other stuff, and they then will tell us what their space needs are.
okay,
They said you can design it, we don't care what you put on the outside, what the building looks like, but they do have standards that they have to have. And we're going to take it from there. But I told him, I said, you know, we need to get this in a budget. I said, and so what we talked about doing was we can't renew the lease because those are 3-year terms. So what we have to do is a budget extension. So I have to write and ask for a budget extension, explain why, and share with them the details of the property we have set aside, etc., so that they can prove it. He said, and I really was thrilled to hear this, we are very excited at the location the village has proposed.
Who was it you're talking to there? Was that somebody?
Someone had from the
Regional-
federal office.
Okay.
Wonder if they're thinking about closing Allison Bay.
Well, I'll tell you this, Louise, I'm thrilled about this because this means he's not closing Sister Bay.
Right,
He
but
said that with a new building, it could be, he said, we may look at a 10-year lease with 5-year extension. So I mean, it's very positive
Yeah.
that this could help secure the fact that we'd have a post office here.
which would be great. But if they close Allison Bay, then our facility would need to be bigger. I'm not suggesting that they might, but who knows what they're thinking about anyway.
Yeah, I would hope they'd look at that when they're looking at their space needs, but we'll see what happens. But right now it's very positive. So
Yeah, good. Okay.
So the other thing I had on this was just that, so the auditor finally had a chance to look at this today. She said, you know, she had a question about where some of the funds were, which counts they were coming from. So Vlad is asking Adam to look at it. Bottom line is the numbers do not change, but where they go may change, okay? So when the final comes out, that may be a little different, but she just had a question. She's like, well, using Pratt funds for this. How is that logged? So Adam is looking at that. May not be any changes. The numbers will not change, but how they're accounted for, or how they're shown may change. So I just want to give you that caveat, okay? So
Okay.
other than that, we had no other comments on the CIP.
I have many.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to. What page does the CIP start on?
Let me go back here.
28.
28. Thank you, Heidi.
The actual numbers start on 46 if you're just looking at.
Yep, numbers, thank you. Okay, so on page 46, the headers are wrong. We have 2024 as the first column.
You're
And
right.
it should, so the headers.
Yeah.
Need to be changed. The capital projects levy should only be $145,000 because $50,000 is still in the CIP for the wayfinding signage that we deleted. And the same on page 47, that 195,000 should be 145,000. Because it's only the Parks building demo and the IT update for 70,000.
Okay.
Bear with me while I scroll through all the pages for my notes. Yeah, on page 55 is where it talks about wayfinding signage. That still shows the 50 for 2025. And I have a question on page 57. So in Tasha's notes near the bottom, budget impact / other, it said that 150,000 was levied in 2023 for this project, which is the Mill Road plan. But we don't have 2023 listed. It starts with 2025. So actually, our total or shouldn't that number be reflected somewhere?
Yeah, let me see what's going on here. So it was 350. You're doing 150. What he's saying is they had 150 that they already collected and set aside,
Yep.
and now they're
But it
collecting
doesn't,
100.
yeah, it doesn't show anything. It doesn't show that 150.
There's 150 missing.
So maybe we can just change the header of 2025, seeing that there's zeros in there, put 2023, skip 24 and 25, go to 26, so that 150 shows up.
Yeah. Okay.
On page 59, question. We show, we'll see property infrastructure at $3.5 million. Bond proceeds are 4.8 million. Granted, we're not going to be taking out a bond if we're not ready to put in infrastructure and have a plan, correct?
Yeah, this is another interesting one. So correct. You know, Wiltie was supposed to happen in 24, and then we delayed it, of course, to 25. And I think we still have to try and at least get the infrastructure in out there.
But if we don't know what the plan is, we can't put in the infrastructure now that we have all the new information on the contamination of the arsenic and a portion of it that we probably wouldn't develop anyway. We have the housing committee. We still have to know all that information. That's fine. You know, we won't borrow it or won't put it in until we have a plan that the board approves.
Right.
Okay.
I mean, we're still hoping it happens in 25, but yeah, we're not going to bond for it until we actually have something approved.
Okay.
They wouldn't bond for it unless we gave proof it was approved. So.
Okay.
So I just want to make a comment on this one as you see it. You know, we put yearly street improvements, $100,000. We know normally you have to list the streets out. This is one where Parks didn't list the names, but we know we have to put something aside. So I put 100,000 in for the next 4 years or whatever to start addressing the road issues. So
What page are you
hopefully
on?
that was okay. Same page, 59 in your packet.
Oh, I'm on 76 because I was scrolling. Okay. Oh,
It's
just
in the future.
projected out. Okay.
Yeah. Rather than do a large amount, just start putting it aside and nibble away at these road projects as
Yep.
we can.
That's great. Well, and that's also what we used to do years ago, that whatever money we received from the state is that we subtracted what we paid the county for snow plowing, or roughly what we budgeted for snow plowing, and anything over that, then we would always put it in a roads fund.
Yeah.
On page 76, I would like to change the program or project name, Warming House Expansion to Warming House / Community Center.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Page 81. We have the Marina Building remodel. It is not a remodel, it is construction. So I think we should change that. They're gonna tear the whole thing down.
Yeah, I don't know why that was always listed as a remodel. I mean, clearly a lot of this we just carried forward, the titles on these older projects, but we can change that.
Okay. And then also something that we need to have a future conversation about is when they build that new marina building and the village will have some new public bathrooms. We do not have that listed anywhere in the CIP, so we need to add that somewhere.
You mean the
And-
public bathrooms, Denise, at the village hall? Or by
No,
At the
at
Marine
the
Building.
building?
at the marina building.
My understanding so far is they would not be separated out from the marina project, that the marina project would pay, because they're part of that building, they were paying for that pole.
No, they are not paying for the bathrooms. They have made that very clear.
Yeah, we can put that in there. I just know from the meetings I've been at with the Marina Committee, I've never heard them talk about separating the cost of the bathrooms at the Marina building out.
Well, it
whenever-
may all be done, but they expect the village to pay for it, is my understanding. So maybe that's also something, Louise, you're on Marina, right?
Yeah,
Maybe,
and we're not gonna meet this month, but we're meeting next month.
okay. Can you have that conversation just so we can get clarification? So if we need to, we can work it into the CIP in the future.
Mhm.
Thank
I
you.
think we need to look at too, though, if we go ahead with the bathrooms at the village hall for the marina,
Yeah,
they wash. Right?
yeah,
Marina
we're
put
paying
in
for
the
them.
public ones, and
Yeah.
then the village hall is putting in some in for marina.
Yeah,
So-
right.
I don't know that they'll look at it that way, but that's for them to decide when they discuss
Yeah.
it. Okay. Question on page 86 for the marina vendor tables, $10,000. What is that?
So what happened is they took the picnic tables out of the parks last year, and Park said, okay, you can try it. We had a lot of complaints that there weren't enough picnic tables in the park because they borrowed them to the marina for their vendors on a trial basis. It worked out good that the vendors sat at the picnic tables. So now the marina is saying, all right, it worked out good. We know we can't keep stealing them from the park. We have to buy our
Okay.
own. So they
Excellent.
put 10,000 in for tables.
Okay.
Those are the tables on the boardwalk.
Yes.
Yeah,
So on page 90. Oh, this is fire. Never mind. Page 97. I thought, under the track list, I thought 30,000 was budgeted for 2025, or maybe not 2025, but it was previously budgeted $30,000, and that 30,000's not showing up. I can't remember exactly what my note means, but I wrote in $30,000.
Well, there was talk about a, equipment that would go on the track list, I think, if I remember right. Wasn't it a piece of equipment that went on the track list? And I'd have to go back through my notes too. Let me see if I have it in maybe in the budget notes, we'll see that come up. But the decision was it wasn't worth it to keep adding on to this old equipment and dumping money into it. We were better off not spending any more money on it and instead just getting a new one, was my recollection.
Right. I remember that too. I just don't know why I wrote down $30,000.
I think because originally that we were talking about the equipment that could be added to it, but then the discussion was why, if we're replacing it, why would we spend?
Oh, no, because it's here on page 104. That's why. It's still showing a capital project levy of $30,000 for the track list, but it doesn't show up on the other page. So if we're not doing that, then that needs to be zeroed out on page 104.
There's 30,000 in 25 and 26, right?
Yep.
So he's showing here, okay, financial impact to the budget is 20,000. We are going to capital levy for 3 years. And then the remainder would be paid for by the sale of the current equipment. Okay, so cost was 134. So is the 30,000 what we've been saving and putting aside every year, so the hit isn't so hard? Let me go back to the budget real quick.
Is that the Excel that you sent us in a separate link?
Yeah, that's where we put the notes when we were going through this.
So that'd be under Public Works.
Yep, Public Works.
Yeah, but CIP doesn't show there.
I know, but I thought that we had put some of the discussion in there. Let me just check it. It may not be, but I'm just checking. No, it's not under Public Works there. Let me see if it's under. Oh, man. Yeah, it's not in here, Denise. I'm not seeing it. Okay, so let me go back to the CIP. Well, what I can do is go back and look at and see what we did in 2024. But it sounds like, according to this, we were setting, I know there was discussion about the track list. Remember, at one time we had talked about just repairing the track list. And then it was like, well, if it's that bad, why are we repairing it? So this is saying we're setting money aside every year to lessen the hit.
What is the wish of the committee? To leave the 30,000 in or remove it from this, the CIP for 2025?
Let's pull it from 25.
So that means you're not gonna have a new track list then for 3 more years. Can we do that? You gotta remember, this is not working, it's costing money, it's making life, when the guys go out to plow, it's taking longer. It's taking more staff time.
It
because
doesn't
they're using
mean
the-
that we can't figure out how to do it and maybe we budget 60,000 next year when we're. Doesn't mean it has to be pushed out a whole nother year longer,
Well, you'd budget the whole thing in 26 then,
possibly.
which is a
That's what
big
I would
hit.
say.
Yeah,
Let's do it that way.
So is the whole thing 60 grand?
no,
It's way more, right?
170?
You'd be
well,
putting in,
it's in here at 140.
Right.
And I'm sure it's probably going to be more than that.
I'm just gonna do devil's advocate for here, something to think about. So there's other stuff in parks that you pushed off to 26. So you are gonna have a major parks budget in 26 if you continue with everything we pushed off already. If the budget can afford it, you know, keep in mind, this is the one department that has been cut. If they can afford it, we can balance the budget. We are able to do everything we want to do without raising taxes. Are we just cutting it for the sake of saying we cut something?
Well, I was asking because the information was incorrect. So, if we're, so obviously in our CIP, in our levy for capital improvements, it was listed at 195 and it should only be 145 because the wayfinding signage. So were numbers calculated off of that 195 into the mill rate?
Well, the mill rate is looking at everything that was considered. It would have been calculated off of everything for 25. So it would have, yeah, it would have looked at that 30,000. That 30,000 was included when they were calculating the mill rate.
Well, I'm asking about the 195,000 that was on that first page of parks.
Let me go back to it.
I don't remember. Okay, so I'm on 104 now.
Page 20, was it?
76, you had said the number started at?
No.
No, ice rink was 74.
I think it was 46, Denise. Let me just
46.
check here. 46. We'll just have to have Adam check it. I mean, I think that 190, I believe that 30 that he put in there would be part of that 195.
Okay, which the 195, because the wayfinding signage was still in there that was not supposed to be, would have dropped it to 145. And now if you add the 30 back in, as long as adding that 30,000 back in, because I'm a little questionable about the errors on this.
Yeah,
And if that really is our mill rate, you understand my concern?
yeah, so you're saying as long as it doesn't exceed the 195,000 and doesn't change the mill rate.
I'm saying as long as it doesn't change the mill rate, then it can be included.
Right.
And when the other numbers are corrected.
Yeah, okay.
And wayfinding's in here at 250.
Yeah, for wayfinding, we were putting money aside every year and then we stopped for a period of time, I think. Or we skipped a year in there, I think, at one point.
And now we're skipping another year.
Yeah, I got you. Okay. I just wanted to verify the number, that's all. All right.
And we may never have wayfinding signage. And because I think that's one of the easiest things to put off.
Yeah, and it's honestly, I think it's gonna cost way more than 250,000, so.
Yeah, and that's just a huge chunk of money that no one will see any benefit for.
I also think it doesn't make sense to do it until you have the
Things
parks
where
and
they're
stuff
supposed
in
to
your
be.
plans developed.
Exactly, yeah, because then you're just gonna have to change it again.
So. A question on page 131. This is under collections, sanitary relining, South Bay Shore Drive and Country Walk sanitary line. I don't remember talking about this at utilities specifically. I just want to know what the project is. What's the problem realigning it?
Hey, let me go back to my notes on the CIP, okay? See what I
Mhm.
have. You're in collection, you said, Denise?
Said it was under collection.
Collection. Well, what I have here, was at 160. Okay, so we have the Adam Court, sorry, I have to look at both documents at the same time to,
I know.
where did
And
it go?
I am requesting, if Heidi is listening, that when we have a final document with all the corrections on it, I would like a hard copy so I can read it again.
Yeah, that's no problem.
Thank you. Because scrolling back and forth is too difficult when you're trying to compare numbers and make sure things are in their right place.
Yeah, and I'm what I have in my files are the notes I got from staff, the first draft, the second draft. So let me just make sure I have this correct. Yeah, so the utilities committee in June, Megan had given a preliminary budget to the utilities committee. And at that time she had in her CIP that went to committee, that was
Right.
in there.
Right, I
So
know
what
it
it is-
was. I just
Yes.
didn't remember what it was.
So now I remember, Denise, it was the line from the manhole. Has a longitudinal crack in the top of the line, and they have to reline the pipe to help reduce the inflow and infiltration into that line.
Okay,
I
All right.
remember that now that I read it.
thank you.
So,
Okay, page 145, under library. So granted, this is for 2026, but it says cement step work. This is not the work that our previous DPW did that the library said didn't know anything about, is it?
no,
No, that
no,
was a driveway.
no, this is something different. This
Okay,
is something different, and actually, when we actually see this, our half will just show up in the operational budget.
Okay.
You know, we had changed it back and forth, and we debated just taking it out of here completely, but we thought leave it in here so at least everybody sees the numbers we know next year, so it doesn't get forgotten. And
Okay.
we don't forget that we're only paying half. So
Right.
it shows up here, but next year you'll see 3,000 in the operational budget for it, and that'll go away right there.
Okay. All right. Those were my corrections and comments. Do we want to go back through the spreadsheet?
On the budget itself,
Yeah, because I have a couple of questions on that.
okay, so that would be next. Let me just pull that up. Have to go back to the meeting packet. We do have some questions on that one too. Okay,
So I am under the tab, one of the first ones, budget notice.
Yep.
And so property taxes between the 24 and 25 budget, it's gone up $36,418. With new construction, what is the dollar amount that the village will receive from the new construction?
Vlad, that'd be a Vlad question. This is an area he worked with Adam on.
So it's
I
gonna
will
be
say that, go ahead.
Is it around $40,000 for 20 million?
Excuse me.
less. We can calculate that. It's. Can we get back to you with the answer?
Yes.
So can't really answer right now, but we'll get back to you with it.
Okay. So also on that same budget notice, it said, the way that I read it at the bottom, it says base percentage change in mill rate 0, change in valuation up 1.48%, but then it shows $11 million in the negative to the left of it.
And I'm sorry, at what page you are?
Look on the, we're on the spreadsheet and we're on the tab that says budget notice.
Okay.
Okay, and look on that spreadsheet, look at line 59. It's G59. Look in that cell.
Okay, yeah.
That's a negative number, but the change in evaluation is an increase of 1.48%.
Yeah, it's changed from 804 million to so it used to be 795 and went up to 804, and that's the change.
Right, but I don't understand what the 11,910,580 is shown as a negative or in parentheses. Because this is the public notice that goes into the newspaper, so I don't understand that.
Well, the formula, let me see what you got here.
So technically, we did recycle the form everything from previous year. Why it's negative?
556 minus.
I mean, technically,
I-56 minus G60. So what happened here was you took I-56, where are we? I-56. You took the assessed valuation for 2024,
correct.
right? You
Yeah.
subtracted out G60. you subtracted out the net new construction number, 20,502,300. And then you subtracted out 555, the assessed valuation from 2023.
Yeah, so it's the change in assessed valuation minus the net new construction.
Basically, yeah.
Okay, that's going in the paper. That will be very confusing to people. Because I don't understand. I
How did we
understand.
do it last year? How would we normally do it? Sorry.
I understand the calculation now and how you got there,
Yeah.
but does it have to be there? Because
Okay.
people will not understand what that number is. And then it also says on line 61, net change in mill rate, that it went down 1.07%. But the mill rate is the same. So there's something wrong
Yeah,
here.
that's going to be confusing, Julie and Vat. That will be confusing for them.
Yeah.
I mean, I know a finance person or an accountant or something would, but unless we have to put it in there, that you're right, that's going to be confusing.
So I would see what we have to put in the public notice. And if we don't have to put those numbers in, that's fine. But also something just doesn't seem right with the math.
Shouldn't that be the difference between L55 and L56 as a percentage?
Well, the net change in mill rate, the formula is L58. So that would be the base percentage change in mill rate, which is 0, divided by, no, not divided by, what's L60? Hold on. Minus 2, I don't know what that formula
Well,
is.
it's summing it. It's taking.
Oh, it's summing it, yeah.
59, and 60. So it's saying the change in the mill rate plus change in valuation and the change in net new
And then
construction.
taking out the 2.55. Got it. Okay. Yeah, because if you add 1.07 plus 1.48, you get a negative 255.
I agree with you, Denise. The formula doesn't make sense.
Yep.
Or it's confused. It makes sense. It's just confusing to the public, right?
Well,
I don't think it makes sense.
I don't think it makes sense either.
You don't, first of all, you don't add percentages. I kind of think I'm pretty sure you don't. I don't know. But I mean, I'm not an accountant.
Right. And most people who look at this will not try to do the math. They just may look at it and go, I don't understand that.
Well, and also when we publish this, you guys, do we publish it as an Excel? We don't. We're not going to publish it as an Excel spreadsheet, are we?
No, what you see on this page, I think,
Yep.
is what goes in the paper.
Right. So they won't be able to see a formula anyway.
Yeah, they do. So I'm looking at
Oh.
last year's, last year,
Yeah.
exact same thing. We showed the base percentage, change in valuation, net new construction, net change in mill rate. It's all
Okay.
kind of the same.
Is it? All right.
I would say this, though, I think that I would have to agree. I think that one of these had a error in their net change in mill rate because the numbers are much different than last year. So we'll just have Adam look at that. But yeah, what you see on this page is what goes in the paper.
Okay, but there's clearly some kind of, one of the cells is screwed up.
Yeah, he's gonna have to look at it because it doesn't, and again, I'm just comparing it to last year, what I'm seeing, something's not right on it.
All right.
Okay.
So quick question, when Adam looks at it and Vlad looks at it and the corrections are made, will we get a chance to take another look at it before the meeting?
Well, we can send it out as soon as we have it.
Okay, all right.
I
Right,
guess
because there are things that are going to change on the public notice from the few things that we've discussed today.
Right.
And
Yep.
so I just want to make sure that that mill rate is still the same.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, I'm happy to have another half-hour meeting and just go through the final version of it before the public sees it. I just want to put that out there.
Yeah, I mean, we're good with that too. I mean, I think we'd all prefer to make sure it's correct. And certainly you guys catch things that we don't, especially, this section, I think, I think sometimes you look at it too much and it goes crazy. This is one where, Adam and Vlad were working on it, and, it could be that something just based on the other numbers, maybe something just was missed or something. So we'll go through that again.
Okay.
Adam, I trust Adam on these numbers. He's very, very good, but we'll have him look at it again. So
Well, he
we
may
want
be
to make sure
good,
it's right.
but he missed things.
Yeah, we want to make sure it's right. So
So the line for and this is just something I don't understand. The line for the general fund where there's an increase, sorry, this is expenses, beg your pardon. So there's an increase and in expenditures, and it's transfers and other expenses. It's up like 35%.
Yep,
I
it's
just don't know
it's
what-
almost $194,000.
so what page are you on?
I'm still on the budget notice.
Oh, budget notes, back to budget notes, okay?
Yep. So if you go back to that and you go look at expenditures and you look at line 28, you can see the 2024 projection. Then you look at the 2024 budget, and then you look at what we're budgeting for 25. And it's up 35%. And I just don't know what it is. So if I go to general rev, which I think is where this is coming from. Yeah, if you go to the tab that says general summary, that's where it is on line 25, and it's transfers. And it was a lot higher, and the budget was a lot higher in 24, and it's up another 400,000 in 25.
You know what, Louise, that could be, I don't know, I didn't work on this part, but that could be taking in the grants or the anticipated grants.
Okay, but these are expenditures.
No, I thought you were on the revenue side.
No, I'm looking at expenditures.
No, revenue is only up under,
You're talking I-28, correct, Luis?
I am looking on the budget notice page. Is that what you
Yep.
guys are looking at?
Okay.
Okay, and if you look at column I, line 28,
Mhm.
under expenditures, our budget for 2024 was about $1.1 million on last year's 400,000. And our budget for 25 is $1.5 million. I just didn't know what transfers and other expenses were.
Vlad, do you know what those are?
Just a second. Transfer and other expenses.
Yeah, because general government expenditures are down.
Well, on this, it says they're up 5%, but general fund, I don't know if that's different than general government. It is,
Yeah.
yes, right? This is general fund. Okay.
I think Julie's talking about L22.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, down 14%.
It goes all the way to transfers. Those are transfers to capital projects. And so 508,172. So you can find that in transfers.
What is a transfer?
It's going to be the way Adam
Taking-
explained me, the transfers that gonna go into projects like
I say,
to ice rink, to some debt services to pay off,
okay,
to some capital projects. So just take a look on the page for GF transfers.
GF transfers.
Okay.
Yellow tab, Louise.
Oh, I see it, I see it, I see it, sorry about
Yeah,
that.
that's where the
Okay.
number comes
So
from.
TK, so to the ice rink, I see that, debt service and capital projects, okay. So I don't know if that actually is gonna happen in 24, I see the budget, but I don't know if it's gonna actually happen, because year to date, we're only at 228 and the budget's 912, so, okay. So it's a projection of what we think might happen, okay. All right, it was an increase, I saw expenses, I saw an increase, and I wasn't sure what it was, that's why I asked, okay.
Any other questions on that page? Okay, I go all the way to Pratt Capital.
Yep,
Okay, so on line 8, 2025 projected, the average of 2023 and 2022 is what is being used for projection, but the average of those two is 335,886, not 312.
well, can I just add something quick to that, Denise? I went and looked at where we are year to date in Pratt. And right now the state shows the first 3 payments, one on February 15th, one on May 15th, and one on August 15th. We're still waiting for November 15th. This is of 24, right?
Yep.
Right now we're at 132,000. We're down about 8%. So if I take the last payment we got last year of 143,000 and I project that's going to be down 8%, we're going to end up for the year at 317. So that number is actually pretty good.
Okay.
And Adam did mention the trend, the taxes going down on premier resort areas, so he wants to be safe.
No, he's right, because it's a little less than probably where we are, and just for everybody's, just so kind of everybody sort of knows, Ephraim is at 65,000, and last year at this time they were at 97,000. They're down 33%.
Okay. Well, then we should get rid of the average of 2023 and 2020.
Yeah, basically that's a projection, and it's a good one. You got 3 out of 4 weeks, 3 out of 4 payments in, and I think you base it on the current trend. Your number is right on.
Okay.
Denise, keep in mind too, though, all those notes in red will disappear. They're here for our purposes tonight.
Right, I
In
know.
case we have questions, but they'll be gone on the final.
I know that.
Okay.
Yeah. I think that's all that I had on the spreadsheet.
I don't think I really had anything else either. There was one other, hold on a sec. I don't
I
think
just
it-
said, well, I'll wait till you guys are done.
No, that's okay. One, I don't think there was really, what the heck is it? Oh, here it is, general government. All right, so where are we?
General government expenses.
Yeah, I just want to look, I just scroll to the bottom first and I kind of work my way up. No, I don't have any questions.
Okay.
Now, sorry, I do. Now, these spreadsheets, did we bake in the COLAs and the steps?
Yes.
Good, all right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I figured, but I just. Okay.
Denise, can I answer your question? What's the approximate tax rate or tax can be collected on $20 million increase in, so it's about 86,000,
Okay,
86.7.
okay, 86,700. So. I'm just trying to figure out what page pertain to that question. Hmm.
Is it the Pratt Capital page?
No, it
Mm.
might have been, it might not have been in the Excel spreadsheet at all. It might have just been in the packet somewhere.
I think you were on the budget notice page when you asked
Yeah.
that question.
Was I? Oh gosh, Heidi, you're invaluable. Okay, because it's under revenues, maybe that's what it was. Property taxes between 2024 and 2025, there is only an increase of 36,418, but new construction's bringing in 86,000.
Doesn't Pratt show up under miscellaneous revenue? Vlad, isn't that where it normally goes?
Okay.
I thought Tasha, I said that it got buried in there because
So, yes.
Pratt
not
is its
supposed to be-
own separate fund. It's not part of the general fund. So
so it
those,
wouldn't show up in there.
So it won't show up in there. Okay, so this is maybe construction that is not in Pratt. So only a portion of that 86,000 is showing up in the revenues under the general fund then. Would that be a fair assumption?
It could be that portion of Pratt being used for construction is showing up there. Right, because a
Not
portion,
Pratt, not Pratt.
In miscellaneous revenue, that's interest on investment, rental, post office, village hall, rental, fire station. That's under general revenue. L71.
was there any Pratt showing up in there, Vlad, in that revenue section?
Just a second.
I thought it got wrapped in there and kind of hidden because we're not supposed to bring attention to the Pratt or something. But if there's a Pratt fund, it shouldn't be showing up at all.
It shows up somewhere, and I remember.
Yeah, it shows up under the, oh, that's Pratt.
Pratt really is a tax. So does it show up under other taxes? Under revenues?
It could probably combination of like added number. Just a
Because if you go under the Excel spreadsheet under Pratt Capital, it shows that those taxes are a little over $300,000.
Yeah, 317, they're gonna be roughly. Mm-hmm. So it's gotta be someplace in the budget summary, doesn't it?
Well, it's down at the bottom of that budget notice under all village funds. Pratt.
Okay, so it's just,
Line 40,
there you go.
yeah.
Yeah, started with capital funded and I didn't even notice the acronym. Okay. Yep.
It's not shown above, but it is showing up when you're looking at all the funds together.
But it's only capital funded by Pratt. other earned revenues.
Is that because Pratt has to be used for very specific reasons, and most of those reasons would be capital infrastructure projects?
Probably.
Really? Okay, I thought we could use Pratt for anything, but I don't know.
Pratt is
No.
limited.
Oh, no,
It is, okay. Well, resort, so does it have to be limited to infrastructure? I don't know.
there's state statutes that dictate what we can. I mean, we spend
Yeah.
enough money in those items, we just have to line item it to justify it.
Okay.
All right, well, can you talk to Adam and find out where the Pratt number is exactly? Because capital funded by Pratt, that number, the 339,703 for other earned revenues does not, what did I say, 339?
You said 339.7. Yep.
7. Okay. So then if I scroll all the way down to the Pratt capital. Oh yeah, it is. Okay. No.
No, doesn't line up with any of those numbers.
Well, yeah, it does. Total Pratt related revenues, 339,703, but it's our, here it is, but that's the beginning fund balance. The actual taxes that's being projected is 312.
Yeah.
Then we have interest on investments, which then brings it up to the 339. Okay.
Oh, okay.
All right. So it's the combination of the two. The interest that we make and the actual,
Okay.
which, okay. All right. Good.
So I do have some more questions, if there's no other questions on the Excel sheet.
Okay. Just going back to the packet.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Um, So we've had, last year we had 10,000 in for sale. Parks took it out. They went to the board twice. Do we want to put that back into the budget or leave it out?
What page are you on, Julie, where you have,
I'm on page, yeah,
Page 8.
okay.
sorry, my computer just,
Page 8, staff report. I believe.
Oh, 10 grand in for sale. That's what I didn't understand what you were saying. Sorry.
yeah,
And they'd asked for, what did we give them last year? 5 or something?
9.
9 or 8? Okay. And do we want to give them 10? Well, I don't know. Is it plugged in there now or not? Is there a placeholder in there for it?
so it goes into the other cultural and rec, and
I wondered what, because that's up. Okay.
yeah,
Gotcha.
so no, it's down, Louise, because last year we gave it to him, and then this year, when we were going through the budget, originally Parks said take it out, but then they came back to the board twice. So the question is, do we want to put it in there?
Parks recommendation was no.
Yeah, we said no.
So the answer is no on that. We don't put it in.
Right,
Okay. Like I said, I'm asking because they did go to the board. So,
right.
and then so there's a forestry account. We've talked about putting money in for tree planting, but then we never finalized that conversation. Just going through my notes here. Did we want to add money to the forestry account for tree planting?
What's
Well,
in there
there was
now?
a note somewhere that I read that there was $10,000 for grounds maintenance and $2,500 for tree planting.
Right, so,
There
but
wasn't-
we, go ahead. I was gonna say, but then we had talked about like at Lagerquist to start planting trees and to develop. So throughout time, I'm just saying through the year, these were conversations we had that we never finalized in the budget. We just need to know before we finalize, did we want to put something in there for tree planting?
Okay. This is what I would say that staff's task is. You can put something in there if it doesn't affect the mill rate.
Okay. And then.
I mean, but I don't know how Louise and Nate feel about that.
Yeah, I don't want it to affect the mill rate either. I believe in a forestry account, sure, but I don't want the mill rate to change.
Or we create the forestry account, take that other $2,500 that's already been budgeted in grounds maintenance. And so we have created the account now. There's $2,500 that's already been budgeted for that. You could increase it to something, but at least we have the account there for moving forward.
Yeah, so there is a forestry account, you know,
Oh,
because
okay.
we put one together, I don't know when it was created, but we ran the forestry grant through that. The one for grounds maintenance is like if we have a tree we have to take down, grind up, put back. So that's like in the parks and stuff like that. Forestry was to start increasing the canopy on our public properties.
Yeah,
So-
that's
Right, but
great.
it did specifically say in the notes, 2,500 for tree planting.
Yeah, I'd have to ask Eric where those are. I think when they take trees down, they try and put them back, but it's not part of a overall urban forestry program that's just trying to
No.
maintain what's coming down.
I agree. I understand, but we still have $2,500 budgeted to plant trees.
Let me just, so I'm gonna see what Eric had that for. But again, if not, I will look at what can we do that does not affect the mill rate if we cannot use that 2,500.
Okay.
So and I know
you
we
know-
had talked about like logger quits to start getting shade trees and stuff built out or growing out there, but okay, we'll do that. This other one we talked about last night at Parks, it was, do we want to add money to the Parks budget for shrubs along Mill Road West? And we talked about that we would handle that in 25 and see what it was gonna be. See if we could use existing landscaping dollars for that, so we
Yeah,
won't.
that was around 1,500 or something. Yep.
Before I get to my last question here, so we had a request today from Coastal Byways. Every year we give them a donation. They want to know if we would give them the $500 donation again this year.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so then my last thing is, we had talked about this, Finance Committee had talked about this earlier in the summer, about when we do the budget, you know, or when we're looking at, I think it was when we're looking at creating policies, we talked about what kind of policy should we have moving forward. So the question was that I'm asking at this, that we talked about earlier, is do we want to use undesignated funds at the end of the year to make larger principal payments?
Right, that's a question that I had a while back.
Back in
And-
June, I think. Yeah.
And in light of our current situation, and the sewer line that was unintended, to bring water to the Parks building, with cutting it close on the administration building and site work and parking. I mean, we can make those at any time, but as much as I like to pay down principal, I guess personally, I would like to hold on to that money and see where everything falls in case there's a shortfall, unintended, something. And and once all of that is done, we can, if the money is still there and plentiful, we can still make that decision at a later date.
Yeah. I think I would agree. I don't think it's advisable now when we've got a couple of big capital projects that we're in the midst of or about to start, and one in the midst and one about to start, soon to start, and then another that we're working on, and we already know we could have some issues with remediation and stuff like that. So it's probably not advised.
I know from a staff standpoint, you know, just in case there's an error in this budget, I want to make sure there's money there. So I think that looking at, you know, looking this coming year as setting a policy for next year's budget, something to think about this year. I just want to make sure that if we need that money, it is there. So
What do we normally have? Is there a set amount that we normally have for undesignated funds? Is it a percent of the total? Is
Yes.
there a formula for it or,
We have a policy on it
okay,
that says we're supposed to keep so much.
so what is it? Do we know, or, I mean, is it? And do
Glad
we
you know
carry
that
it
off the top of
over?
your
Do we
head.
just keep carrying the same amount over or something? I just am
No,
curious.
no, I think we upped it. It used to be 25%. I think we now upped it to 35 or 40,
We're s-
was it?
I think we're between 35 and 40 right now. Does that sound right to you, Vlad?
I know about 25.
We're at 25?
That number I came across previously, but you're probably right. It's between 35 to 40 now.
Well, it should
Wow.
be,
Okay.
it's in. It's in,
Should
The
be in the
fin-
budget someplace, shouldn't it?
no, not the budget. It's in the audit. I'm looking for my audit.
Oh.
Yeah,
And I don't see it here. Within arm's length without digging
Okay,
through. my
I just was
file.
curious, and I can ask later, I can look it up myself later or something, because, you know,
It's big. It's a big.
that
fund.
big, yeah, 35 to 40% is a big number. Yeah, I wish I could put that away for my undesignated funds at home. But yeah, it's a big number, but you know, when we have surprises, they're usually six.
Oh, right. Right. And one of the reasons why we upped it was just for cash flow between the tax payments in January and July.
Mm-hmm.
And we've been able to carry a higher undesignated balance fund, which is extremely helpful when something arises that we either want to do or it was a bad surprise.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's life. Okay, I got you.
So in the financial policies and procedures that we put in our budget every year, you know, the only thing it really says in there is that if we're gonna spend, you know, the funds that we need a special resolution to do it. So we don't want to change this at this point. We just want to leave it the way it is. This is how I'm reading it. We don't want to put, you guys are talking about percentage and stuff. We don't have a percentage in our policies. So just leave it the way it is, this year.
Well, Tasha has always talked about a percentage.
Yeah, well, I'm looking at your procedures right now. You've got.
what
I
you're
think
saying is
that's
it's not a
goal.
policy, it's
I don't
just,
think it's pardon me, Nate?
it's not a policy, it's just been a practice.
It's been a practice, but it's not one of your policies.
What
So,
would we have to do to make it a policy? Is that like a motion, or is there something the board needs to be involved in?
Amending bylaws?
so it says here, this policy will be reviewed by the finance committee every 3 years following adoption or sooner at the discretion of the village board. So in November of 23, you adopted these policies. So in November of 26, they should be looked at unless you want to do it earlier, or if the board feels we need to do it earlier, I should say.
I mean,
Well,
I think we've always followed Tasha's request in the past and we've had the money to do that. We can change it, but we can change it in the future. You know, after the budget's over, we can have a conversation at a finance meeting or talk about it when they're doing the audit. Because the auditors also suggest a certain percentage, and I think they've always suggested 25, and we've gone beyond that. So at least we should have what the auditors suggest in our policy, and if we choose to then do more as just because we want to,
yeah,
discretion.
Yeah,
Okay,
I did.
I should have the 25 in.
yeah, I think that the good time to do it would be during or after the audit.
Okay, so don't do it now. Don't change our budgets, that our policies in our budget.
Right.
We're gonna wait, and when the audit comes out, that at that time, we'll go
Yeah.
back and change these.
So when does the audit get done?
Like June, we just did
Okay.
it. We just
Oh.
completed
we
it.
just accepted
June,
it.
July, I think it was, yeah, June.
Okay.
I think Vlad has something to say.
Yeah, it's gonna be page 29 of audit. It's between 29 to 40%
Okay.
Oh,
reserve,
okay.
unassigned fund balance.
Thank
I
you.
mean, if we know that, then rather than wait till June, why not just put it in our financial policies now? If that's what you want to do.
Sure, between 29 and 40%.
That's fine. I mean,
We
that's,
just make it 30 to 40%.
yeah, like
Between
29. 's a weird
25 and
number. Yeah,
40%.
yeah.
You
Oh,
said
25?
to
Yeah,
40?
25 and 40%. It's
Oh,
on
wow.
page 59 of audit for December
Okay.
31st,
That's
23.
a big range. What gives you a lot of flexibility?
Okay, so we will add that to the policy section of the budget the final budget document that goes out. So, for those, when you look at the budget, there's always the cover, there's the summary we reviewed. We're gonna add the final financial policies and procedures, and then we get into the actual budget Excel sheet that we looked at tonight, the numbers from the Excel sheet.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. All right, so that was it for the questions I had.
Are we done then?
We are done.
I don't have anything else. No. Mm-mm. Do we want to talk about whether we want to get, once you guys have, the things that we discussed and some of the changes we want to make, we want to get together for a half hour, or you want to just send it out and field questions that way?
Louise, let's see when Adam can get to it.
Okay, yeah, sure.
I know he put time aside any kind of crash course, put other stuff off. Let's see when he can get to it, and as soon as he can get to it and we get a complete one back, we'll try and schedule a impromptu meeting.
Yeah,
Or
that's fine.
24-hour notice, but-
If you don't, if no one thinks it's that, we can do it a different way, it's fine. I just offered it up, that's all. Okay.
No,
Yeah, I
I,
would
I
feel-
think it's good that we meet to
Yeah.
see the final, to have,
Yeah.
I really
That-
do.
The
I feel better
actual
if you all
document.
looked at it.
Yeah,
I
I'd feel more comfortable because if people ask me, people that live here ask me questions or something like that, it'll just help me to get a little bit more grounded and familiar. So that'd be great. Thanks.
Yeah. Glad
All
you
right, is
okay with that?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Okay, is there a motion to adjourn at 6:48?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Hausen, second by Bell. All those in favor respond with an aye.
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 Aye. Motion carried. Good night.